So for this course, I'm going to actually be mixing stems. Now, when I say stems, what I mean by stems is I'm going to bounce down each individual track, whether it be an instrument or an audio file, into one long audio file, starting from bar 1 all the way to the end of the track. Okay? And I'm going to be doing that with every single audio and instrument track in my arrangement. Now, it's quite a long, drawn-out process, and you may be asking why. Why don't I just mix the project as it is, you know, in the Logic 10 project? And there's a few reasons why I'm going to be mixing the stems. The first reason is because I want to show you a way of doing it, which will give you another perspective. The second reason is because if you were sending your track to a mixing engineer, that would be how you do it. The mixing engineer may not have the same plugins as you. They may not even use the same DAW as you. They may be on Pro Tools and you're on Logic 10. So the way around that, you would then send them the stems. And the stems are basically bounced down versions of your individual tracks, instruments, etc. with effects on. So what the mixing engineer at the other side does, wherever he is in the world, will simply drop those audio files into his DAW, starting from bar 1, and when he presses play, the track will sound exactly the same as it did at the stage where you had it. That's the idea. And obviously for him to get it sounding exactly the same, you're also going to have to bounce the stems with the send effects on, i.e. reverb, delays, choruses. They all need to be on there. You may think, okay, so I'm not going to put the reverb on this track, but then you can imagine the mix engineer drops that stem into the arrangement and it doesn't sound the same. And he's then going to have to figure out whether or not it needs reverb, which a lot of people do that way, but for this one, I've got my track sounding really nice with all the send effects, and I actually want to leave all that on. I want to drop it into my arrangement and it sound exactly the same, and that includes the send effects. There are many benefits to mixing with stems. The first thing that I can think of is that it gives you a new perspective when it comes to your mix. When you're producing your mix, you can be very much in that production frame of mind. And the mixing is the most important stage of the track, I do believe. Obviously, if your production's terrible, then it doesn't matter how good a mix you've got. But, you know, let's assume that you're good at producing. Okay, so the mixing is, without getting that right, it's going to really let you down at the last stage, so to speak. So I like to spend, you know, a good day or two on my final mix, and I also like to approach it from a different perspective, and that is to be able to just take it away from the project environment, i.e., without all the plugins on, without all the clutter, without all the effects, without all the, you know, the production environment I'm working on. And I like to be able to start clean with just audio files. And then I can then go in and tweak each individual audio file as I see fit with effects. I can cut them up if I want to. I can even do little edits of the stems as well. I can do remixes of the track. I can cut things out and leave things in. It just gives me that whole, I'm starting this mix from a mixing perspective point of view. It gives me that. Because, you know, I'm a sort of advocate of the left brain, right brain mentality, which is, you know, separate tasks into different, you know, tasks. If you're going to be mixing, that's what you're doing. If you're producing, that's what you're doing. If you're writing lyrics, that's what you're doing. Don't confuse the different processes along the way. So yeah, it's a bit of a laborious process getting your stems. And I'm going to explain how to bounce down the stems, and I'll probably explain a little bit more about why I'm using stems in some of the next videos to come. But that's why I specifically like to use stems. Okay, so join me in the next video where we're going to get inside the project. We're going to start looking at the screen. We're going to start, you know, working on the actual mix itself.